Ho ho boardies, welcome to Borderline Games. I am Gareth and this is the Chrono Jotter episode 15. Last time we found out who Tama's killer was. It was actually Asakura, and what's more, Tama wasn't even the target. We don't even know who the target was yet. But apparently Asakura was getting revenge after Tama foiled her plan to commit unalivement. You get it. We then had a vision of who Asakura outside of this weird murder school was. It turns out that she was very depressed and committed unalivement in front of 3,000 people on Shibuya Crossing, which is pretty dark. We've now solved the crime. We know who killed Tama, so now Tama's about to wake up. What's she going to say? It was like watching the steel cables of a suspension bridge rearranging themselves in parallel, though the speed of the regeneration didn't seem as quick as with Anne's. Ran could see the other organs slowly regenerating as well behind the muscles. Suddenly Tama opened her eyes. Even though the wounds on her neck were far from being fully repaired, her consciousness had been restored before her wounds had. Even while the regeneration was still underway, tears flowed from Tama's eyes. She opened her mouth and tried to speak but couldn't. Her vocal cords were still in the process of regrowing themselves. Ran quickly dashed to her side and Tama reached out to grab onto Ran, but the attempted movement was too much for her and she fell off the bed to the floor instead. Ran hugged her, and Tama clung tightly to Ran's back as her neck continued to regenerate. It was then that her vocal cords finally returned to normal. Tama Indua's screams filled the entire morgue, giving a hint of the pain she'd suffered before she died, and her wounds, which were now exposed to the air after her awakening, brought her a new flavour of suffering unlike anything she'd ever experienced before. Jesus Christ, it sounds awful. Asakura had better properly apologise to Indua later. Ran could hear the sound of flesh regrowing right next to her ears. Tama finally stopped screaming and began to take deep, heaving breaths. She grasped on Ran's back, relaxed slightly, but she still apparently had no intentions of letting go. Indua, it's okay. You can hold on to me. Tama was more than willing to accept Ran's invitation, and her fingers clutched at Ran with redoubled force. After a long, long time, the morgue finally fell silent, leaving only Tama's quiet breathing. Does it hurt? Tama shook her head, releasing her grip on Ran and leaned back slightly. Ran didn't immediately let her go, and continued to hold Tama in her lap. It's much better. Thank you, Ibuki-san. Spoke Tama Indua with pale white lips. Where's Asakura-san? You pointed her out as the culprit here, didn't you? She left. Oh no, she must be mad at me. I must go and apologise to her quickly. Tama immediately began struggling in Ran's lap, trying to stand up, but Ran pushed her right back down. The hell do you mean apologise? The way Asakura treated you, she should be the one apologising to you. Absolutely not. Asakura-san can do anything she likes to me, but when she was twisting my head, I'm sure I must have made an unsightly expression and even gotten my blood on Asakura-san's face. Tama was starting to cry again. She hadn't even seemed this tense, even when her wounds were regenerating. Asakura-san must be feeling quite unwell. I have to go and apologise quickly to her. Absolutely not. Don't you dare apologise to her. But... No wonder Asakura doesn't want to see Indua's face. If Indua showed up and immediately started apologising to Asakura, I bet she'd start coughing up blood from sheer infuriation. Just fury, right? You don't need to have infuriation. Look, if you apologise, you're just going to make Asakura miserable. What you need to do right now is to go up to her, point your finger at her face and start screaming at her. How could you do something like that to me? Something like that. And then maybe ignore her for a few days. That'll probably cheer Asakura up. Why? I don't get it. Just take my word for it. Asakura told me it was what she wanted while you were dead. She wanted you to do those things. Tama seemed somewhat confused. She blinked her huge eyes as her lips began to regain colour. Did Asakura really say that? Ran nodded, with as much confidence as she could. Very well. I understand. Since it's something that Asakura-san told me to do, then I'll do as she says. Tama picked herself up off the ground and dusted off her hospital gown. And if after I say that Asakura-san gets mad at me, then, I shouldn't say just what I'll do to you, Ibuki-san. Nope. Endure, you're scaring me. Trust me. You don't think Asakura-san would be such a petty person, right? The problem's not with Asakura-san, but with me, though. Do I really have the right to do something like scream at Asakura-san? It's because you're like this that Asakura-san hopes that you can change yourself. Surely you understand. As well, having an inferiority complex isn't a good thing. Tama jumped in shock at Ran's words. It had been obvious to everybody after all, even if Tama had thought she'd been doing a good job of hiding it. Okay, I understand. I'll try then. Ran sat on the floor, sighed in relief, feeling incredibly exhausted. That was exhausting. Like, completely useless double use the word exhausting. Saying all that chicken soup for the soul, inspirational cliche stuff. Even though I just did my best to copy how Miss Sakura used to speak when she was trying to comfort me. It's just not my style, and I never want to have to say anything like that ever again. At least the case itself was decently fun, maybe think a bit. I feel pretty accomplished for having solved it. Ran stood up as she mentally reviewed the details of the case one last time. At the same time, the door to the morgue creaked open. It's over. Miss Sakura, what are you doing here? Well, I was really worried about you, so I've been waiting outside the whole time. Miss Sakura. I love you so much, Miss Sakura. So you heard everything I said to Asakura then? Yes. You'd have a way with words, Ran. I was just trying to imagine what the past you would have said in the same situation. Is that so? That really is quite different from what I'd have said then. But Makoto and Tama's relationship has turned out to be more complex than meets the eye. I think your choice was correct. Maybe it'll help the two of them out. The image of Asakura's suicide flashed before Ran's eyes again. She found herself sinking into uncertainty again. Was there really any meaning in those things that she was doing? You know what? Looking at Anne, Ran suddenly felt that she had no need for uncertainty anymore. All she needed to do was to do what she did before and tell Anne Sakura whenever she was faced with any kind of a problem. She'd surely be able to find a solution to anything. Miss Sakura, there's something I want to tell you. Oh no, I wonder whether that's going to go down well. After Ran finished telling Anne about Ran's memories of Koizumi and Asakura, the two of them returned to the dorms, where the other students had already gathered in anticipation of lunch. Ran took the opportunity to tell the others about the truth of the case as well.
Oh. So that's why they didn't come to eat with us. I bet you they're having an argument in their room right now.
Yorona-san, please don't joke about something like that right now. Sai shrugged. I was quite shocked when I saw Endura-san wander into the dorms this morning. The case was solved before I could even begin to make heads or tails of it. That's Ibuki-san for you, I guess.
I know you said no joking, but this is actually kind of serious, isn't it? What if we check up on Makoto's room later, and it turns out that Tama's being corpseified again? That'd be the worst.
As soon as Aya finished speaking, Miho gave her a punch in the back of the head, but judging from everyone's expressions, they had the same concerns as well, more or less.
You know what? I'm gonna go check up on them. You all keep enjoying the food.
Sai stood up and left the dining room, and headed up to the second floor. Oh no, Asakura will listen to Endura properly, right? She wanted Endura to shout at her, didn't she? Don't tell me I messed up, did I? I don't want to get vivisected by Tama and Duo. Before long, Sai came down the stairs with a faint grin and with Asakura in tow.
Relax. They're having plenty of fun. Endura needs to rest upstairs for a bit, so I just brought her down for a bit.
I wasn't done talking to her yet. Whatever. At the sight of Asakura's transformation, Ran thought that she ought to open her mouth and say something, but Asakura ignored her and sat down straight at the table. I guess I'll catch her later. Ran let out a breath and lowered her head to start eating, but at that moment Miho slid her a chair over to Ran and pressed her mouth against Ran's ears. Ibuki-san, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? You're being quite mysterious. Miho lowered her head. Tonight I'm going to be switching bedrooms with Yorona-san. Huh? A room swap? But doesn't that mean... Miho turned her head aside, her eyes focusing on who knew were and continued speaking. What? Miho turned her head aside, her eyes focusing on who knew were. What? I don't know what that means, and continued speaking. Okay, whatever. That's right. It means we'll be sleeping in the same room tonight. Oh. Music stops. Chapter 1 complete. A chance to increase one of your stats has been acquired. Perfect. Current attributes are Investigation 9, Charisma 3, Alacrity 4. Or should I just keep on doing... in fact, Investigation I'm pretty convinced will cover most things at this level, so I'm going to go with Charisma. Attribute improvement complete. Current attributes are Investigation 9, Charisma 4, Alacrity 4. Perfect. Will you at least tell me why you want to swap rooms with Yorona first? I got into a big fight with Aya. Miho took a seat and gestured to Ran to sit down as well. Looks like she has a lot to talk about. Maybe it has something to do with what I saw in the kitchen a few days ago. I sure couldn't tell you two had a fight. Well, it isn't the first time we've had an argument like this. I got into a big fight with her around when we graduated from middle school. The argument was so bad, I almost decided I never wanted to see her again. It was all Aya's fault, and so I was really mad with her, to the point where I decided to go to a different high school from her and terminate our friendship for good. Sounds serious. What even is this? Have I become Takai's private relationship advisor now? Before this, I thought that maybe our relationship would improve, since we ultimately wound up attending the same high school anyway. But whenever romance has come up in our recent conversations, it always reminds me how she hasn't changed at all. Yeesh, we really are just heading towards Gossip Town now, aren't we? Maybe I can try and use this opportunity to ask some important questions, though. So how come you and Toyoma wound up in the same high school anyway? Well, nothing particularly special. My parents recommended this place to me, and Aya's family did the same for her. I thought this was a very strange place at first, but now I've found that my classmates are all quite amicable, and that the educational system is quite distinctive. It's honestly pretty nice. Is it? You can't even be certain if you'll be able to properly participate in the college entrance examinations if you stay here. Miho blinked her eyes, as if she hadn't expected that the conversation would swerve onto this topic. Well, that's not a problem. We've all got student IDs, so we can go to the city to take the exam when the time comes. It's been so long since I've asked a question like that. I almost forgot how the answers they give in response are only barely coherent. I guess there's little meaning in asking them how they got here at this point. Ever since I recovered my memories of Asakura and Koizumi Sensei, it's become obvious that they did not arrive here through any remotely conventional means, so there's probably no use in wondering about it. Alright, so why exactly did you have an argument with Toyama then? Honestly, I don't have much interest in their relationship issues. The two of them aren't like Asakura and Induro, even if they had a fight. Those two are the type who would probably make up overnight anyway. At the least, I can't imagine Toyama giving Takai the cold shoulder. The cold shoulder. I don't want to say. That response made the corners of Ran's eyes twitch in irritation. If I don't tell you why we had a fight, are you not going to let me stay in your room? No, I don't care that much. Miho smiled, put her hands on her thighs and leaned forward slightly. It's because I think Ayo and Yurono-san get along well, so I... You call that an argument? Seems to me like you're still just looking out for Tama. The phone in Miho's pocket lightly vibrated and she unlocked it and took a look. It's a message from Yurono-san. She said that Tama's gone downstairs now. We should go down and pick lots again. Oh right, I almost forgot that was a whole thing. Alright. Ran and Miho headed downstairs together. The others had already gathered in the dining room, with the cards used for picking lots already placed in the dining hall, on the dining table as well. Tama's eyes were puffy and red and she was sniffling a little. But she still stood next to Asakura and held onto one of Asakura's sleeves with her tiny hands, seeing that Ran relaxed a bit. Looks like Endo will be fine. Asakura's still looking like she couldn't give a damn either way. Ran took her place next to Anne and took her arm too, as though she and Tama were in a hand-holding contest. Alright then, let's begin drawing the lots. I'm pretty sure this doesn't matter. Let's pick this. Ran took a card. Its underside wasn't painted red. No problems here. Next up is the victim. And Sakura. Ran took a card. And Sakura was written on it. Miss Sakura. It's nice just seeing Miss Sakura's name. Ah! Suddenly the card in Aya's hand slipped out and fell to the table, making a crisp smack that drew everyone's attention. It landed face up. Miho Takai was written on it. Okay, you did that on purpose.
Oh, no. My hands just twitched. I just have practiced guitar too much recently.
Aya laughed awkwardly. Miho didn't particularly react, though. Rather, she simply reached out and stacked Aya's card on top of her own. Let's do a redraw, then. Everyone else handed their cards to Miho for her to shuffle. Oh, Tayama's play just made the situation a lot more convoluted. If Tama is the culprit, then it's possible she intentionally dropped the card because she didn't want to kill Takai. Does this mean that Takai will be more likely to be safe after the redraw? What if Tama draws Takai a second time? Or if we flip that around, if Takai dies, does that mean that Tama's probably not the culprit? After the cards were shuffled, Ran drew a new card. This time she drew Tama in duo again. The last case really took a lot out of Induro. She deserves some rest. Anyway, there's no point to thinking about this. Let's wait until someone turns up dead first. After all, it's not like I'm going to be the victim. I mean, you might be. Alright then. The drawing is concluded. Everyone may now enjoy free time for the rest of the afternoon. After Miho spoke, Asakura turned and went upstairs. Tama quickly followed her. I should visit Asakura when I've got the time, later. Real curious what she and Induro have been talking to each other about. You called a new recall point. Okay, so... who should we go see? Yurono, Makoto, Asakura... Let's go see Makoto. Just you. Ran opened the door, but Tama was nowhere to be seen. Only Asakura was in the room, and she was sitting in a chair with one leg crossed over the other. She'd loosened her jacket and even unbuttoned the uppermost few buttons of her shirt. Her hairpin had vanished to an unknown location. Oh, so you're here for Induro, Ran, and here I thought you'd come to visit me. It's unbelievable how different you look. Now there's 2 Euronos running around this school. Lech. What? Is that not okay? No, it's actually pretty nice. Ran sat down on the opposite side of the desk as Asakura. She didn't expect that this world would suit her more either. Huh. Maybe if someone had helped her change like this before, then Asakura wouldn't have killed herself. So was it Enduo who helped her? Hey, did you say something to Enduo after she came back to life? Sure, I told her to yell at you for a while. Asakura rested a finger on her chin and grinned cheerfully. She did try her best to berate me, but mostly she was crying so hard that I couldn't even understand what she was saying. Really, looks to me like you've taken both her words and her tears to heart. Asakura didn't correct Ran. She shrugged and continued. After this, I'm probably going to adjust the way I interact with her as well. There won't be a need to be so close with her, the way things were before. What do you mean, no need to be so close? Don't panic. I just meant relative to before. Asakura grinned, pulled her legs off the table and leaned forward, letting her head rest in one hand. I suppose you thought I was Enduo's master before, right? But from now on, who knows? Maybe she'll be my master. Do you two not know how to fool around in any other way? Asakura's attitude had convinced Ran that the relationship between her and Tama would only get better from then on, and in a way that was much more normal compared to how it used to be. So where is Enduo? Library. She went all by herself. Wouldn't your master be sad when she didn't bring you along? I see you're enjoying yourself at my expense too. She went on her own. It looks like she's found a project she wants to do even without me there to fuss over her. And she seems quite invested in it. That's nice to hear. Ran stood up and pushed the chair back where it came from. Looks like you two's issues have been resolved, so I'll get going. Ran, thank you for getting Enduo to say those things to me. It's made me feel a little better, at least. Really? Asakura's straightforward attitude made Ran want to say something else to tease her a bit, but it's already pointless anyway. What? Nothing. I'm out. See you around. When Ran reached the door, she felt Asakura grab her by the wrist. I can't help you with Sakura's memory loss issues, but anything else, such as... Asakura paused, unsure whether she should continue. Her eyes flitted from the floor to the ceiling, then eventually settled back on Ran. Another one's got a crush on us. I don't really know what I can do to help you with, but if you need help with anything, come find me. Ran remembered how the first time they'd met, Asakura said almost the exact same thing to Ran. This time you sound a lot more sincere. Don't tease me. Grinning, Asakura let go of Ran's wrist. Trust me, when I need your help, I won't hesitate to ask. See you later. As Ran departed Asakura's room, she noticed that the door to the next room over was only halfway closed. That's Toyoma and Takai's room, isn't it? Ran approached the door, and through the crack of the door she saw that Miho Takai was fussing about with something in the room. Takai, what brought you back here? Ah, Ibuki-san. I was organising some of my things to bring with me. This close. If you want to use anything, you might as well just come back to your room to get them. I don't want to run into Aya. If you want to find her, head to the music room. She's definitely there. I know. You must go find her, don't you? Alright, so we can go to the music room to see Aya Toyama. Let's do that. As soon as Ran opened the door to the music room, Aya, who'd been sitting on the piano bench, spoke up.
Oh-ho! My romantic nemesis has appeared.
Come on, clearly Takai was the one who made the request to swap bedrooms with Chrono. Aya put down her guitar and replied with a grin.
I know, I'm just joking.
Then, pursing her lips, she made a hesitant inquiry.
Miho, did she say anything?
Looks like Tama really wants to make up with Takai more than Takai herself does. She told me that you two originally weren't supposed to attend the same high school, but she didn't explain why you had your most recent fight exactly. It looks like you two had a serious argument.
Oh, for sure, it was mega serious. And it was all Miho's fault, you know.
Ah, the kind of argument where both sides think it's the other side's fault. An incredibly commonplace and incredibly frustrating structure for domestic drama. Right after Aya made her complaint against Miho, though, her expression immediately softened.
The only reason I'm even daring to say something like that is because we're attending the same school. If we actually had to split up for 3 years, there's no way I'd have been able to endure it. I'd probably go with my tail between my legs to Miho and pitifully ask for her forgiveness in a day or two. She's not like me, though. Miho excels at everything. Even without me, she can manage her emotions all by herself and live her own life perfectly well. So if she said that she was still... If she said she was never going to talk to me again, she'd actually be capable of carrying through with the threat. There's no way I could bear it, though. I understand how you feel. If Miss Sakura was angry at me, I'd do everything I could to make up with her as well. Though I've never had an argument with Miss Sakura before. Are you here to just show off, Ran?
Ran sat down on the bench next to Aya and patted her shoulders. So Tama is the disadvantaged side of this relationship then. Makes me sympathetic to her plight. So just what was the cause of your argument anyway? If you want to compare Takai with Miss Sakura, then I'm on your side here. Why don't you tell me about it?
No way.
Huh?
Miho was way smarter than me. Well, she didn't tell you why we fought earlier, right? So if she didn't tell you, I can't tell you either. She surely has her own reasons for it.
But I guess if I were in her shoes, I might do the same, holding Miss Sakura. Sakura's wants as paramount no matter when or where. Well, okay, but what are you going to do about it then? Just let it play out on its own? It was Aya's turn to pat Ran's shoulders this time.
That's a problem for me and Miho. I'm sure you've got lots of other things to worry about, don't you, Ran-chan? Compared to us, your own problems are more important.
You're absolutely correct. I don't need to concern myself with the relationship issues. I should concentrate on my efforts, all my efforts on Miss Sakura's situation. But helping them resolve this situation might very well allow me to unlock my memories pertaining to the two of them, just like Asakura.
What's up with you now?
Ran shook her head and got up, preparing to leave the music room. All I can do is let nature take its course. Both of them are resisting outside interventions, and even if I wanted to do something to help, I don't even have a point of entry to the problem. She stood by the door and waved goodbye to Aya, who answered her with a strum of her guitar. And Miss Sakura is here too. Let's discuss it with her before I make any decisions. Alright, so 2 down. 2 to go. Oh, well, I've got 1 actually. So Sai Yuruno or Hinata Koizumi. Let's check in by the pool with Sai. Ran sat by the poolside and watched as Sai swam to the other end, leaving ripples in the wake of her path that broke the water's stillness. After reaching the end, Sai spun in the water, kick-flipped off the walls of the pool and swam back towards Ran. That's the first time I've seen that kind of move outside of television. And here I figured you just use this pool as a glorified bathtub, Yurono.
You can afford to be more direct with your praise.
Sai hung onto the side of the pool with one hand, pulling her hair back with the other.
Seriously, you really have nothing better to do, though. You keep coming to watch me swim.
Well, do you really have nothing better to do then? You keep coming here to swim.
Well, I like swimming. Speaking of which, Ibuki, do you like deduction?
I feel like at this point, of course she does. Wrong voice. Why ask about that now? Are you asking about whether I like playing this killers and detectives game with the rest of you?
Sure.
Watching Sai as she floated back and forth, Ran had a bit of trouble finding her bearings. She wasn't sure why Sai was asking that all of a sudden. I've always thought from the start that this entire thing was fundamentally wrong. Even if the victims can be brought back through correct reasoning, murder itself is always an extreme act to perform. The situation we had this time with Asakura and Enduro was honestly has honestly left me a bit worried. If we can't resolve their issues properly, then the next time Asakura draws the killer's card, she's definitely going to go right back to tormenting Indoro.
Yeah. I would never have imagined that Asakura would get that vicious with Indoro, but it kind of looks like their relationship has actually improved for it, rather than worsening somehow?
Maybe. I guess. Overall, I don't like the fact that you all continue to engage with this kind of activity, but I suppose the deduction and reasoning itself is fairly enjoyable for me.
The more difficult the better, right?
Hardly. The situation where the killer thought they finished the victim off, but the victim was able to write a note in blood detailing the key clues. Now that's the best kind of case, if you ask me. That's a lie. I love the kind of riddles where the success rate is 1%. Though usually in cases like that, the 1% that actually beat the challenge are usually people like Miss Sakura, not me. If there's nothing else you'd like to say, then I'm heading out.
Wait a sec.
Sai seemingly reflexively raised her hand towards Ran. Water dripped off her arms in rivulets, gradually splashing into the surface of the pool below.
Never mind. Forget it. Go on ahead.
Okay. What's going on? Don't tell me that your owner's about to start showing signs of weird personal issues too, following in Takai and Asakura's footsteps. Still, the time I spent with Yorona really is quite enjoyable. I wonder how I came to know her previously. Ran strolled idly through the school courtyard as she sent a text to Anne with her phone. The phone auto-completed with Anne after she put in the characters for Sakura, and the screen presented her with a prompt to call Sakura Anne in her contacts list. Just as Ran was about to press the call button, a text message appeared in the top of the screen. Ran, do you have time? Come to the observation deck of the dorm. I want to talk to you about the situation with Kawazumi and Makoto. Ran immediately sent back an affirmative response. Miss Sakura truly understands my soul in the way that only a soulmate can. Let's go see her immediately. Okay. Another episode of Borderline Games. Next time we're going to go see Anne Sakura, our one true love, and see what she's got to say about who was it? Who was it? Kawazumi and Makoto. Yep, we'll go see that. See what's going on with that. Kawazumi, is this people we were just dealing with? Kawazumi. Why can't I see Kawazumi? And Sakura. Oh, this one. Yeah, because it wasn't Tama, was it? So Kawazumi. Oh, I know who Kawazumi was. It's the one that didn't want to become a teacher, right? And Makoto. I think that's what it said. Oh, hello phone. Kawazumi and Makoto. Which I think that is the one that, yeah, that's Asakura. Cool, well, I guess we'll see what's going on next time on Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching, and tune in next time for more Chrono Jotter. Bye-bye.